Fantasy hockey fanatics, it's a mock draft, live on air, first of the season. We're getting after it and getting this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It might as well be Christmas, Mr. Roden. It's the first mock draft of the season here on the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. And yeah, we're live on YouTube, baby, but we're still getting after it all week long here on the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Steele and Flip, we are going round by round, Mr. Roden, and hopefully we got some listeners in the chat jumping in as well. This is key to our preparation in the lead up to the fantasy hockey season, and I am fired up and ready to go. Today's episode is always brought to you by our good friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. Tap into Daily Dingers at FanDuel.com today and make your free pick for who's hitting a homer this MLB season. Steele, you already know I went after it with a couple of mock drafts, so I hope I'm coming in red hot. I'm excited to get after this. We do it every single year, Mondays in the lead up to the regular season, and it's just fun to be back, and hopefully we got some of our listeners along for the ride.
Dude, this is exciting times. We're officially back. I know we never stopped grinding throughout the summer season, but mock drafts are back. Like, this is what we live for. We love for the preparation, the organization. Sir. We have so many people already reach out to us over the last couple of days as well, just already with intrigue about our casual and competitive league. So the lists are already piling up. If you want to join and participate, our casual and competitive Locked On Fantasy Hockey Listener League, make sure to DM us on Instagram or on X, on TikTok as well, wherever you can. If you want to email us, if you want to participate, send us a message. We'll get you on the list. We'll have you for the draw on September 21st. And again, if you haven't paid attention, you got to pay attention coming up this next month, because this is where all the hard work starts to pay off. You start doing these mock drafts, you tune in to Flip and I here on Locked On Fantasy Hockey. We got all of the preparation for you, so you got to be tuning in here. But Flip, I'm so excited for this. This is absolutely phenomenal. First Monday mock draft live, number one of the year. Couldn't be doing it without you, buddy.
I appreciate that. And when we dive into this in a couple of minutes here, I have a feeling, Steele, this is going to get fast and furious like it always does. And I say that off the jump. I've got some players in my back pocket. I just did a draft earlier today. I took Cutter Gauthier in the third round. I'm really focused in on a player that you just said it off air. Is this a 50-goal man? Is this a shooter that leads the league this upcoming season in goals and in shots on net? I think he is going to be a very hot commodity. And look, with that contract situation and him wanting his money, maybe this is a kid that is really set to explode. He's only one of many at the top of my mind, but let's try and dive into one of these leagues here, and you and I can do a little bit more of a preamble chat just so we can get some of our listeners out there, hopefully jumping into the same live mock draft.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is what we love to do. We want to make sure all of our listeners are out there and being able to join us and participate. So we got some drafts coming up in the next couple of minutes, Flip. Let's take a look maybe at the 5-hole in 4 minutes if we both want to join this one. This one's completely empty as of right now. We could also do the sin bin if we want, because there's only one person in there. Which one would you like to join?
Let's do 5-hole. I'm jumping in. I'm in the 7th spot.
Okay, you got the 7th spot. Of course, you picked the 7th spot because you already did that earlier today, so you're used to that. I'm going to go with number 4. Number 4 is going to be the pick. Is going to be the one where I draft from now. So let's get right into it. We got the waiting room here. There's already a few people joining with us. We got Nate, Chelsea, Jordan, Flip, Darren as well. Welcome to the live here on Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. We are so excited for what is about to happen here. Mock draft number 1. Flip, let's dive into some of the details about our casual and competitive league. Like we said, if you missed yesterday's episode, we put out some information about what to expect this upcoming year. Again, it's the same categorical format. It's the same goals, assists, penalty minutes, banger league. So you got penalty minutes, you got hits, you got blocks, shots on net, power play points. Then obviously the goaltenders. The goaltender categories are the same as what they typically are. Wins, goals against average, save percentage, and shutouts.
Yes,
so we got 12 or 13 categories. I think we might try to maybe play with short-handed points as one of those fun caveats. So, I've done them in a few different leagues. That's something that we can leave up for discussion when we get our leagues finalized, but I wouldn't mind putting some short-handed point categories in there.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that could be the perfect thing to put up a little poll. There's one spot left. For anyone who's out there, Maxwell Wong, I see you in the chat. I just dropped you the link. There is one spot left, and it is that 10th slot. Steele, I'm intrigued to talk about that a little bit more. Shorthanded points is an intriguing angle, and I think we can put up a poll to see what some of our listeners and some of the people that are very much interested in these leagues think. But I like it. I like adding a little wrinkle here. And when it comes to what we're doing here tonight, live mock draft, just to tee it up as we are going to break it down, get into here in 2 minutes. 2 centers, 2 left wing, 2 right wing, 4 D-men, 2 goalies. That is the positional breakdown, and I think there's also a couple of bench spots, Mr. Rodin. Obviously, our league is a little bit different, but all of the angles hold true. And one of them coming into this draft, and I think this will tee it up nicely, is the conversation about where Austin Matthews is ranked versus Nick Suzuki. NHL.com has Austin Matthews ranked as the 8th center. Off the board, Nick Suzuki at 9. Montreal Canadiens fans are in an uproar. We got a couple of minutes here, Steele. If Matthews and Suzuki are still on the board, who are you going with first? Because I know who I'm going with.
I mean, it's got to be Austin Matthews. I really don't think I don't think there's much debate to that conversation. As much as Nick Suzuki has really grown into his own as a leader, as one of the best two-way centermen in the game, potentially at his age as well.
It's a fact.
And again, what he's been able to do as a playmaker, as a leader for the Montreal Canadiens, it's really hard to look away from a player who on any given night can put up 2 or 3 goals. Any given season when he's healthy can put up 50 on the high end, or honestly, even 60 on the high end, 50 on the low end when he's really on his game here. So Austin Matthews, I think, has to be the guy above Nick Suzuki. I don't even think that's really much of a debate right there.
Apparently, there's a lot more of a debate going on than you and I would both agree to.
I mean, that's surprising to me.
And however, this is argument debate season in the fantasy hockey realm. Projections and predictions are running rampant. We have a breakdown of 1 minute coming in hot, Steele. This has just got the blood flowing. It was a little cool down here in South Niagara today. I'm ready to hammer a few Sunday parlays and get serious on the waiver wire. It is seriously go time for us here on the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. I appreciate everyone riding with us live right now. We see you out there. Drop us some comments and questions. It's about to get hectic. Steele, break down how you're feeling here at the slot that you're in at number 4. Looking like Mac Daddy projected to fall to you at number 1. Probably feeling pretty good about that option.
I mean, he does.
I mean, Mac Daddy number 2, by the way. Not
I was gonna say if you're talking about Nathan McKinnon, I'm all over that right there. I mean, Mac Daddy 2.0 here. That's who I'm eyeing right now. I think that's the perfect spot to take him. I wouldn't be surprised if he actually goes 3rd overall because he's just that good. But yeah, that's exactly who I'm eyeing in this situation here. Macklin Celebrini at the number 4 spot.
Absolutely. And hey, I'm taking a look.
He was taken.
Woo! Okay.
Yeah, see, I mean, and I'm completely fine with that. I am completely fine with Macklin Celebrini being at the number 3 spot, even though Nikita Kucherov continues to put up 120 plus points in a season. That's who's going to be my fallback right there at number 4.
Yeah, and Nikita Kucherov, Leon Draisaitl. Now, here I go, Steele. Kaprizov, Robertson, Pasternak, Vasilevsky, Quinn Hughes, Nick Suzuki. I think, to me, there's a clear pick here, and this one's going to make you happy. I'm going to go with Kirill the Thrill Kaprizov off the board at number 7. This is one of the best pure goal scorers in the game, and if you're talking about what he's still insulated by in Minnesota, I don't think I need to sell you on him. To me, at the 7th slot, I think that is exactly where you'll see him going.
Oh, absolutely. Again, and like if that's where I was where you are right now, Kirill Kaprizov 7 or 8. I think with how the team is looking right now and the confidence they can build off of last year, Quinn Hughes, a full season in Minnesota now, I have really big expectations for both Kaprizov, Hughes, and Boldy, and just the overall squad and what they're able to do come playoff time, when April comes around. So I'm really excited about this team. I'm a huge fan of them, and I cannot wait to see them back in action here.
Hughes, Quinn Hughes, Werwinski, Nick Suzuki, Marty Necas, and then Mikko Rantanen off the board at 12 through 16 slots. Steele, me coming up next here in a couple of picks. I always talk about this when we do live mock drafts, or, you and I are going to do hopefully a live real draft for our listener league. I very much like balancing out my positional availability. I like getting that out of the way early. I'm going to the blue line. Bouchard, Lane Hudson, Rasmus Dahlin. This is a banger league. This is a situation where I always want peripheral coverage, especially when it comes to the banger leagues. But I want Lane Hudson on my team so badly this year, Steele. This was almost a point per game D-man last year, and he is just starting to scrape the surface of what I think he can do. I love Lane Hudson. Back over to you.
Yeah, I think that's a wise pick there. And I understand what he's capable of doing. And we've seen that in action, many times now. I just think with those peripherals is maybe where his value starts to fall off. And I'm actually kind of at a crossroads here already. I think I got to go with Brady Tkachuk, especially in banger league categories. And I know people are starting to wonder about what this Florida Panthers team is really going to look like. And how they're going to share the wealth with everyone in that, not even just the top six, even in that third line with Brad Marchand, Anton Lundell, Eetu Luostarinen. How are they going to share the wealth with all those guys? And I know people are maybe skeptical of how Brady Tkachuk fits into that, but I think no matter what, he's one of the most dominating present players in the game here, especially in categorical formats, because he is the top tier player when it comes to that position and what he's able to facilitate.
It's so funny that you're bringing up Brady Tkachuk, and I guess I had him on my mind because I took him with my second round selection as well, Steele. In my mock draft earlier today is a tweet I saw from Ottawa fans about, is Brady Tkachuk even in their top 5 forwards? And it's like, come on now. Let's not head into the realm of crazy just because he did them dirty. And let's be clear, he did them dirty on that exit. But this is a player that, in our formats, you are ahead of the game if you have one or two of these players in your lineup. We spoke about them at length. Not unicorns almost. They do a little bit of everything. They can hit. They can throw that body around, penalty minutes, and offensive upside. I love this for you. You're a backup here. A couple of really intriguing names. According to Yahoo, Hellebuck, Ottinger, Thompson, Kyle Connor, Tage Thompson, and your boy Cutter Gauthier, or is he my boy at this point? I can't remember.
No, he's mine. He's mine for sure, and there's no question about it. And once I make this selection real quick, I kind of want to talk about defensemen for a second because I'm seeing all these defensemen getting taken off the board here. Do I go Matthew Tkachuk with Brady? Go second and third with both Tkachuk players? I really like Tage Thompson though. I really like Tage Thompson as a player, and I know
you
Kyle
really
Connor,
do.
I really do. Like Tage Thompson's my guy. I gotta go with him. Like I have him almost on every single one of my teams. He's one of my keepers in my keeper league as well. So
there's a goalie off the board
here. But I want to take a look. There's I think three goaltenders taken off the board. Yeah, Andre Vasilevsky was first round, and then Connor Hellebuck at the 3-3 and Jake Ottinger at 3-5. I'm fine with Vasilevsky in the first round. I know like I personally wouldn't do it just because I'm buying it more into the 0G strategy and waiting on goaltenders to find that value here. But Flip, real quick as you make this selection here. Let's talk about defensemen for a second because you took Lane Hudson in the second round, and that was the 4th defenseman off the board. Yep. So with that pick, you technically have him ranked higher than Evan Bouchard and Rasmus Dahlin. Is that like where you're having Lane Hudson in categorical formats and just as a fantasy player, you think he's a little bit more valuable than those two guys?
This is a very excellent question. And this is perhaps when I get caught up in a little bit of the hype, because on paper, peripherally, you said it yourself. He won't probably line up with those players because that's not his game. But when I was looking into the offensive metrics and his numbers last season, Steele, and what I think the Montreal Canadiens are going to do, at some point, I like to ride a little bit with my gut. In today's NHL and analytics in general, shout out to our boys in the Apples and Genos. There is obviously that is where success lies. I think Lane Hudson is in for a massive season. I think Lane Hudson's going to be in the mix for the Norris Trophy. And I think if Montreal is as good as we expect them to be, Steele, this guy might be the point leader for defensemen. And therein lies my angle with taking him in that mix. And to your point, you can have all the strategies in the world, 0G goalies or otherwise. If a whole bunch of good defensemen that flew off the board that you would like otherwise, and you got to just kind of ride the wave, there's a perfect example of do your research and be prepared. By the way, good names flying off the board, 35th, 36th, 37th overall. Kyle Connor, Tim Stützle, Mark Scheifele, then Brandon Hagel, and then Dylan Guenther, which is a player that I would really like to have this year.
I'm not going to lie. I really like what Jordan is doing in the 12th spot here. And you rarely see back-to-back defensemen taken in the first and second round, but he goes Quinn Hughes, Zach Werenski, which is just starting so hot with that blue line group right there. And then you follow that up with Tim Stützle and Mark Scheifele, two very underrated, capable forwards who can get it done offensively. And I think Tim Stützle, again, like with all, not so much the pressure, but the reliability that, you know, the fan base, the organization is going to be looking towards him to really take the reins now without Brady Tkachuk. That could be an expectation of what he can provide for the Ottawa Senators this upcoming season. I'm on the clock here, and I know we're in the 4th round currently.
Yes.
I don't think I could live with myself if I didn't take Sidney Crosby right here. Like Sidney Crosby in the 4th round, like this guy is just so good.
Yeah,
30,
I messed up.
29 goals, 45 assists. He's projected for a little bit above that here.
Punish me.
I did not get him.
Okay.
I was talking too much, but that's who I would go with. Sidney Crosby in that spot in the 4th round.
Steele, we both just blundered because I had Mo Sider in my queue. I wanted to wait for him till my next pick. I wanted to go Sid. But hey, here are the perils of you and I doing some content. We're still explaining how we would break it down, and that is holding true. There is still so much value in Sidney Crosby, but I also, with my pick of Lane Hudson, I just discussed it. I need a little bit more sandpaper from my blue line, and Mo Sider will provide that. My picks coming up. You got more picks coming up. We've got a lot more mock draft coverage and fantasy hockey content coverage coming up on the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Steele, today's episode is still brought to you by our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. Baseball fans, if you know who's hitting a homer today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. Easy to play. Best of all, you make your free pick throughout the MLB season every single day. Daily dingers is another fun way to get after it with MLB action on FanDuel. Every game, you can get it. Vlad Guerrero Jr., he's dead to me. I told you, Kaz Okamoto, Steele. Blue Jays, tap in daily dingers if you're ready to play your game today. Join all the action at FanDuel.com. That is FanDuel.com to play daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball, swing for the fences on FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. Giddy up.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to smash that subscribe button, the follow button. Leave a 5-star review for your boys here, Flip Livingstone and Steele Road. And we're getting after it here with the first live mock draft of the season. We can't be doing this without you. We got 14 people watching us live right now. We really do appreciate all that love and support. While we were talking about and discussing, or while we were doing that live ad read right there, I was looking actually at Darren Radish as my next player in this 5th round here. I believe it auto drafted Igor Shesterkin, and honestly, I'm more than happy with Igor Shesterkin in the 5th round as my first goaltender. And again, we are buying a little bit more into waiting on drafting goaltenders and finding the value later in the drafts with, again, we just talked about a guy like Jet Greaves, who you could very easily wait until the 12th or 13th round and potentially get him there. And that's tremendous value. Maybe a bounce back season for a guy like Jacob Markstrom with the Florida Panthers this season, Sergei Bobrovsky with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I think that you can wait a little bit on goaltenders, but with Igor Shesterkin being one of the best in the game here, arguably, top 3 still, Igor Shesterkin I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, and oh look, I just started seeing some of the goaltenders that were left lying around right now, Steele. And I think I've waited 5 or 6 rounds. I know the boys at the Apples and Ginos, they continue to wait. That's what the 0G strategy is. But if you're talking about the Melka, Bussy, Dobish, still some intriguing names, most definitely. But the one that stood out to me was Jesper Wallstat. I'm buying into Minnesota. I already got their number one man. I think this is going to be a team that is going to be there come the end of the season at the top of that Central Division, Steele. And with Gustafsson hurt in a very serious manner, this is Jesper Wallsted's crease. And I think not only do I like that for the deployment at the start of the year, I think that is going to bode well for me down the stretch as well. I'm taking a look at my team right now. Cutter Gauthier, Kaprizov, Lane Hudson, Mo Seider, and Jesper Wallstat. I think I'm going to go with another forward just because I was talking about, how I like to balance things out. Steele, I'm very happy here to get this player. What round are we in here? We're in the 6th round. This might be on the earlier side of where I've wanted him, but I don't think he's going to be around much longer. Here comes a stud to my team in Porter Martone, and I'm going to stay 10 toes on Porter Martone. This Philly team was a playoff squad last year. Joseph Wall adds a nice little security blanket to a goaltender in Dan Vladar. That's the real deal. I think the Philadelphia Flyers return to a top 3 team in that Metro division, and I love this kid stealing Porter Martone. Might be early, and I can take the heat on that if I got egg on my face, but I'm staying 10 toes down on Porter Martone this season. I expect a breakout year for, I know, only 4 games under his belt, 9 games. But how about 10 points in those 9 games? I'm fired up for this kid.
Oh man, that I understand where you're coming from. I understand the hype behind this kid, but that might be the first reach of this mock draft here. Porter Martone in the 6th round when you have guys again who just got drafted after him. Jacob Chikrin, Jackson Lacombe, one of your boys, Braden Point, who could have a bounce back of a season. You still got really good players here. Dylan Larkin, Demidov, Seneca. Cooley. Look, I understand where you're coming from.
He is one of those good players, though. He will be one of those
limited small sample size, though. Like you could go with a guy like Sebastian Aho. There's Jeremy Swayman, Logan Cooley. So I get where you're coming from.
But also, please recognize. No, absolutely. I'm not disagreeing. I would also say though, food for thought. Our boy Nick Jensen at NHL.com has Porter Martone ranked at 67th off the board, right there in the mix with these players. So it might be slightly early. I don't see it being him being around much longer if I don't take him there. However, what you're saying is holding true, especially the first name that stuck out there, Ivan Demidov. Wow.
No, I mean, that's completely fair, and I understand that. And I had to go with a left winger here. I went with Zach Hyman in the 7th round. I think he's very underrated, and I think that's a great spot to get Zach Hyman in, actually, because when you look at what he's done in his time with Edmonton, I know he's battled through injuries from time to time, but when he's on that top line or even the second line, whether he's with Draisaitl or Connor McDavid, he's getting the first power play time as well. Zach Hyman is one of those Joel Eriksson, Vincent Trocheck, where he works day in and day night. And if he doesn't have injuries and he's fully healthy and durable, he's going to be one of those top tier guys. And I'm not saying he's going back to 50 goals, which he did a few seasons ago, but that's a guy who, with the players he plays with, you can expect him to really, really shine with his fantasy value.
And shout out to Evan LeBlanc backing you, Steele, with that is a reach. We've been forgetting a little bit about the comments. I feel you guys, and I guess I'm just a little bit too high on this player, and maybe I got egg on my face if he doesn't produce. JD Felt 3. Tage is a great pick with his center and right wing eligibility. I'm up in a couple of picks here, Steele. Maybe it's you next, but I just wanted to quickly highlight my team. Then you can do the same. Cutter Gauthier. I took Sebastian Aho there since you were chirping me about passing him. I got him anyway. Cutter Gauthier, Sebastian Aho, Kirill Kaprizov, Porter Martone, Lane Hudson, Mo Seider, and Jesper Wallstat. Who do you have so far, Steele? Obviously, this is at the point of the draft where we're all feeling good about our team. Let's see how the rest goes.
Yeah, I mean, I've taken a few guys that were an auto draft because I was talking a little bit too much here. But Brady Tkachuk, Tage Thompson, Zach Hyman, Nikita Kucherov, Sam Reinhart, Jackson Lacombe, and Igor Shesterkin. So I actually had 3 auto picks here. One of them was Sam Reinhart, which I actually really liked at the end after it happened because I just pair him up right there with Brady Tkachuk. Jackson Lacombe, I had him in my queue. He was an auto draft, and I don't mind that, actually. Maybe I would have waited a round or two later on Jackson Lacombe. Igor Shesterkin was one of them too, and I really like that pick in the 5th round. So I'm really happy with my team so far. I think it's going very well. There's some aspects I'm going to have to address, especially on that blue line with me only having Jackson Lacombe as of right now. Sure. But that's something that I'm going to address very soon in the next couple of picks.
It's very interesting to me, Steele. And you know what? I'm just going to throw it back to you because you're up once again.
Yeah, back on the clock here. I think, I'm looking at some of these defensemen. You got Brock Faber, you got Victor Hedman in there, and I know people are maybe fading him a little bit. Noah Dobson, Charlie McAvoy. Again, Charlie McAvoy is actually suspended for the first, I believe, 8 games of the season. So maybe keep an eye out for that. I think I got to go with my boy Brock Faber. I mean, Brock Faber with Quinn Hughes was one of the best D pairings last year.
I don't hate it.
I don't hate it at all. I mean, this is a guy who really exploded on the scene once Quinn Hughes got to Minnesota and was really showcasing both his defensive and offensive skill sets there. And I think that's what he relied on Quinn Hughes a lot, was to open the ice for him, give him that confidence, especially in the defensive zone. Having that guy to rely on, I think, really helped his game. So Brock Faber, I think, with Quinn Hughes is going to be one of the best D pairings in the game this upcoming season. I
think you might have gotten a bit of a steal of a pick there, Mr. Roden. 148 block shots last year for Brock Faber, 51 points, 39 penalty minutes, and 173 shots on net. If we're throwing that season of production into the seasons that didn't get nearly enough credit last campaign, Brock Faber might be in the mix. That is a really solid batch of production across the peripherals as well. So I think if we're also, this is now the 3rd time we've brought up what we think the Minnesota Wild are going to do this season. And once again, if they fall flat, I'm going to blame that squarely on you. This is going to be a spot where, Billy G is swung for the fences. And if he comes up short once again, there are going to be a lot of finger pointing in Minnesota. Names still left on the board before I catch heat again, because I'm just going with my gut. Rupe Hintz, Dylan Larkin, Logan Cooley is attractive, Nick Schmaltz, Bo Horvat, John Tavares, Sam Bennett, Rust Ovechkin, and the guy that I want, Steele, I want my Banger League beauty. I want Matty Nyes.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you want Matty Nyes? He does a little bit of everything as well. And I think, again, he battled injury the entire season last year. I mean, this guy was hurt. And so was Nylander, and so was Austin Matthews. So when all those guys are healthy and you get a young, very talented, maybe a fresher breath there, and Gavin McKenna, you get some fresh blood in there with Darren Radish and Sergei Bobrovsky. Like, this is a team that I'm very excited for this upcoming year. And I know a lot of people are being like, yeah, well, the Atlantic Division is the hardest. It is. Like, that Atlantic Division is the hardest in the entire National Hockey League.
I would agree.
And outside of the Detroit Red Wings, any one of those teams could make the playoffs here. So it's very intriguing to see what happens here. But Matthew Nyes is one of those guys. Again, you talk about Zach Hyman, Joel Eriksson-Ek, Vincent Trocheck. Those are workhorse dogs who just do a little bit of everything and provide and sprinkle all over the categorical format. So I really like what Matthew Nyes brings to the table here.
Last couple of picks, 107th, 8th, 9th overall. Thomas Harley, intriguing. Dylan Larkin, Jet Greaves is off the board there, Steele, here in the 10th round, Jet Greaves. And since that is happening, and I'm already kind of sticking to the strategy of I don't really want to wait as long as other GMs, and we'll see how it goes for me. I really like I know I've spoken about this goaltender, and I think the St. Louis Blues are a sneaky team, and I'm okay with where this is happening. Again, back over to you. That goaltending conversation, especially in St. Louis, we'll talk about more.
I want to come back to your team, but I think this might be one of the biggest steals in the draft right now. Alexander Ovechkin in the 10th round should be an absolute is a sin. That's a sin right there. There's no way Alexander Ovechkin should be falling past the 5th round, even in my opinion, especially in categorical formats, because at 40 years old, one of the most durable players. When you look at the 20-plus career that he's had in the National Hockey League, I mean, he's only missed maybe 50 games in 20 years. This guy
had a broken leg.
He had a broken leg and came back in 4 weeks. Like, he's one of the toughest guys in the National Hockey League. But back to your team, Flip. I think I really like some of your picks, like the Kirill Kaprizov at 7. Cutter Gauthier in the 3rd round, Moritz Seider in the 4th round, Sebastian Aho in the 7th. Like, you've got some Matthew Nyes in the 9th. Like, you've got some really, really good picks. I think where you and I differ a little bit is maybe you're buying a little bit too much into some of these players and you're reaching on a few of them. Because again, like the conversation with Lane Hudson, like taking him over Evan Bouchard and Rasmus Dahlin and maybe even Matthew Schaefer to a certain degree, I think that's a little bit of a stretch there. When you take Porter Martone in the 6th round, I get the hype there. I think there's a little bit more consistent and proven players that you could draft over Porter Martone. Joel Hofer, even in the 10th round. Like, do we really believe the St. Louis Blues are going to be a top tier team in that conference and in their division in that conference? And I think that's what we, when we did our end of the season review, I think that's what you kind of talked about a little bit last season with what went wrong with your overall team here. That would be my judgment and kind of say on the overall couple of picks that you made here, but I really like the Kaprizov. Know that. Jesper Wallstedt, Moritz Seider, Cutter Gauthier. You've got some really good picks. And I'm not saying these players are bad. I'm just thinking maybe I would personally wait a little bit.
Absolutely. I like the chirps. I like the angles you're coming at here. I think the Lane Hudson angle is a far less egregious one than what I was doing with Porter Martone because of the other options that were left behind there. I'm on the clock down to ticking numbers. I've been all over this Minnesota Wild team, but I think there's some sneaky value here. Ooh, I was going after Bo Horvat there. I got auto drafted. I ended up taking Rickard Rakell, which is not a player that I wanted in the slightest. However, this is the perils of doing this live. I was going after Bo Horvat because we love what this guy can do at both ends of the rink. We broke down the Islanders in detail just recently. I like what you're saying here about my team. I would say, though, also, Sebastian Aho in the round that I got him at 79th overall, I think is a massive amount of value. And if you're reading into some of the things that I am, and this is what happens when I get overly excited about some of these young players, maybe I'm that boomer bust team and I have been mostly bust. So I should probably adhere to more of your advice. I now would like to probably round out my team now with even going more with gut picks. I see Tavares. I do still see Horvat on the clock there. I'm going to actually go with Bo Horvat as my next pick. If he is still there, that's what I would do. But we'll see what happens when it comes back around to me once again.
Who'd you end up going there with? Oh, you went with Rasmus Anderson. Okay, you know what? I don't mind that pick at all. You're seeing a lot of defensemen get off the board here. And actually, right after Alexander Ovechkin for my pick, I had Sergei Bobrovsky, and I really like that. I really like my goaltender duo right there with Igor Shesterkin and Sergei Bobrovsky. It was an auto draft in the 12th round. I would not have selected Thomas Chabot. That was an auto draft, so that's probably the one pick as of right now that I would rescind or I would take away in this instant. But just looking at some of the guys that you just mentioned, Bo Horvat, John Tavares, you got Steven Stamkos, Joel Eriksson-Ek, Nikolai Ehlers, Trevor Zegras, who's got triple eligibility actually as well. There's some really good players still left on the board here.
That's an intriguing name, is Trevor Zegras, obviously.
Yeah, it is.
The stepping out last season, I kind of alluded to that I'm getting behind this Philadelphia Flyers situation a little bit. The blue line is a concern. I know Joseph Woll's addition is just a backup move. I think that is a very solid tandem. I just obviously sold my soul to the devil with Porter Martone. Look, Rickard Rakell was an auto draft pick. Rasmus Anderson was an auto draft pick, even though I do like Rasmus Anderson for the peripheral coverage. I'm hard on Joel Hofer. I'm going to stand down on that one too. I like Porter Martone, and Lane Hudson might lead the league in defensive points. So I'm with you on the peripheral side with Lane Hudson, but I'm just trying to defend myself a little bit because I'm also catching strays in the chat. Someone saying thoughts on Nashville Steele. You answer that one. I'm up next on the clock, and I'm going to make a good pick this time that none of you guys chirp me for.
I don't know why, but it keeps automatically putting auto draft back on for me because it just drafted Nick Schmaltz, and I would not have taken Nick Schmaltz over John Tavares. John Tavares would have been my selection in the 13th round there for me. So that one kind of sucks as well. My last 2 picks, I'm not happy with. Those were auto draft picks for me. But
yeah, me too.
Yeah, I would have gone with John Tavares in that instance.
Sam Bennett was auto drafted for me. Hey, these are the perils of the live draft on the new Yahoo system here. I was also clicked into auto draft. I took Sam Bennett. I'm a little bit concerned about all the bodies going around in Florida, Steele, when it comes to some of, minutes have to go somewhere. So taking a guy like Sam Bennett, yeah, the peripheral coverage is there. He's been a beast over the last couple of years. But I think taking him in that slot is something that I probably would have passed on. Now that I took another forward, names on the board, Stankoven, Jackson Blake, Naz Kadri, Gabriel Velarde, and Jimmy Snuggerud are catching my gaze here. I already got heat for a St. Louis Blues goalie, so I might as well stay 10 toes down. I'm going to go with Gabe Velarde and get myself a little bit of that top line action in Winnipeg. That was a big player last year. I think Gabe Velarde's got some solid offensive production here, Steele. At 162 overall, I think that's another good sneaky pick.
I like that pick there, and that's actually I probably would have gone with him as well. I actually would have gone with Trevor Zegras if they both were still on the board here. In this instant, this is where I would take a shot. And I'm more than happy taking Anton Frundell. A guy who I think is going to be up there with Connor Bedard potentially, at least for the first couple of, Connor Bedard's out for at least a month to start off the season.
Maybe a little more.
Maybe a little bit more, maybe 6 weeks. Out for the season, out for the first month and a half.
Don't quote us.
For the Chicago Blackhawks. But, Anton Frundell is going to have a lot on his plate as well. So I would like to see them when they come back together. Just to answer Jay Soldier 22's question, thoughts on Nashville after 1 year together. Do you think they will be much better this year? I think they will. I think you have to expect UC Saros to get back into form at some point in his career, because if he doesn't, his overall trade value is going to go down in both fantasy and both for the Nashville Predators if they decide to move him potentially this upcoming season. After Steven Stamkos having a really solid year, maybe Jonathan Marchessault can come back and get back to what he was doing a few seasons ago. I think Roman Josi is still one of the best in the game, and he's the best defenseman for the Nashville Predators as well. You have to buy into a few of these guys. Like we talked about it on that Nashville Predators Top 5 episode. A guy like Luke Evangelista, like he's going to have a lot of opportunity to make a name for himself in that organization and be one of the top guys in the future potentially. So I don't think Nashville is going to be much better than what they did last season, but I expect them to be a little bit better. That would be my answer.
I like that answer, Steele, and a very accurate one at that. Some intriguing fantasy pieces. Dylan Cousins just went off the board at 169th. I really wanted to grab that player. I think that is insane value in a guy who is also just a hit machine. I know you're next up on the count here. I see you took Patrick Kane. Now it's my turn to chirp you because I see players out here, especially in a guy like Vinny Trocheck, that I think I would have taken ahead of Patrick Kane. A lot more peripheral coverage, even someone who you've spoken about in Alexi Protas. There's also other names still out here on the board, Steele. Jimmy Snuggs is an intriguing one headed in. I just got Vincent Trocheck at 175th overall. I really like that player. I think I've kind of finished stronger than I've started, but I'm liking the shape up of my team. We're wrapping this one up, though, here, Steele. I believe I'm coming back up on the board. I want to pull my team up. I'm up in one more pick. I've got one more bench slot. On my bench, even though one of them was an auto draft, I have 3 forwards, so it would just make a lot of sense to have a look at who is left on this defensive board. Zane Parekh, Sam Rinzel, Justin Falk, Darnell Nurse, Zeev Buium, and then some other names down the board, Mike Matheson, Logan Mailloux. I think Steele, oh, man, this is when it gets really tough being here on live. I like Zane Parekh's upside. You took a flyer on him last year. Justin Falk is in Detroit. All of these teams are just kind of haphazard. I might even want to go farther down the board to a player in Simon Edvinsson.
Wow.
That is a sleeper. I know it's bold, but it's my last pick in my draft. And if I've already taken some shots, some other people would go safer. I want to see what the Simon Edvinsson kid can do. And I already know with this team, I'm probably having to hit the waiver wire early.
Yeah, and I completely understand that. And actually, so I'm drafting Darnell Nurse with my last pick here. But I would have drafted either Frederik Andersen or Dan Vladar, and both those goaltenders were drafted the previous 2 picks to me. So I would have gone with Freddie Andersen as my initial pick, then Dan Vladar. Both guys were snagged They were taken from me. I'm going with Darnell Nurse as a bench defenseman. I think he's a great player to have as your last pick because, again, in categorical formats, this guy's going to bring so many blocks, so many hits, and especially with the San Jose Sharks team, he's going to be him and Jacob Trouba they're going to be the guys protecting their players. So you look at the overall of what Darnell Nurse can bring here. I'm not overly happy with my with 2 of my last 4 picks. Like, I wasn't happy with Nick Schmaltz because that was an auto draft, and Thomas Chabot, that was an auto draft. But I'm actually very happy with how the overall team played out here for myself. So maybe let's get that up next when we look at some of these teams right here.
Absolutely. And I'm just kind of typing in the chat here for some of our listeners still on YouTube. We appreciate you guys. Questions about the Detroit Red Wings. I wouldn't completely write them off. And a guy in Simon Edvinsson that brings so much to the table. I think it's one of those situations that we're also in this limbo spot of it's been so much offseason and so long since we've seen these teams on the ice that over the next couple of weeks, as training camps open, line rushes go down, you see what these teams are actually kind of working with a little bit more. We can hone in on what we really think is going to happen. Are the Detroit Red Wings going to be a threat? No. But I still think there's going to be a ton of value in a couple of those pieces. And look, before I throw it back over to you for your wrap on your team, I'll throw it down. Cutter Gauthier, Sebastian Aho, Kaprizov, Matty Nyes, Porter Martone, auto draft at Ricard Raquel, Lane Hudson, Mo Seider, Mikhail Sergachev. Big year coming for Utah. Then I have Rasmus Anderson, another auto draft. Wallstead and Hoffer. Say what you will about when I took them. I love my goalies. And another auto draft in Sam Bennett. But I think arguably, Steele, Velarde and Trocheck there in those rounds that I got them in might have been my 2 best back-to-back picks. And I rounded out with Simon Edvinsson. Little bit bold. I like it. Would I do things differently next time? Absolutely. And just in case Steele isn't still connected and we still got a few people on live, I guess what I would also throw out there is taking a look at my friend Mr. Rodin's team. Absolutely, he had a sensational draft. Brady Tkachuk, Tage Thompson, Zach Hyman, Alex Ovechkin, Nikita Kucherov, Sam Reinhart, Jackson Lacombe, Brock Faber, Victor Hedman, Thomas Chabot. Then he's got Shesterkin and Bobrovsky. Also brought in Nicky Schmaltz, Anton Frundell, Patrick Kane, Darnell Nurse with the final pick. Look, I think someone in the chat there said Steele's team is stacked. I think it's good. I think it's definitely a very nice draft here from my friend. And looking at his boy Tage Thompson there at 28th overall, I see that as probably right where he's going off the board. When we're talking about value on this team, Zach Hyman at 116th overall, and then Nikita Kucherov. Also, Alex Ovechkin, he got him, I believe, in very late rounds. Taking a look at Washington, tap into some of that value, Logan Thompson being one of them. I don't know where Steele just went, but we had an awesome live stream, an awesome mock draft. It has been a pleasure riding with you guys today. We will be back. More live mock drafts. Oh, there he is. He's back. I was just about to wrap up, Steele. I was just about to shut her down. Oh, now he's not back. I don't know what's going on. I think we should probably end this bad boy, Steele, if you can't hop back on and wrap this up. I just gave your team a ton of shout out. So let me know if he's not there in a couple. I'm going to shut it down. I hope you guys have enjoyed this on today's episode. I hope that you can join us again for another live Mock Draft Monday. Next week, we'll be back. Steele, you there? You with me, or am I going to throw this down?
Hello? Can you hear me?
He's back. I don't see him. I just gave a full recap of your team. I gave you kudos for really good picks with Alex Ovechkin and value in Zach Hyman. Why don't you just hit me with your final thoughts on this, and we can shut this bad boy down?
Yeah, I mean, before I had some technical difficulties there, and it just completely kicked me out of the stream here. I was going through all of the teams before it kicked me out, and I was actually really impressed with Nate's team. I believe he had the first overall pick. He had Nathan McKinnon. He had Jack Eichel. He had some really good selections throughout that. But without those auto drafts for my team, I was really happy with my overall start. I really like Igor Shesterkin in the 5th round. You get Alex Ovechkin for value in the 9th round.
There it is. Nice.
And I think that seems to be my problem is towards the last 4 or 5 picks. I maybe take too many flyers or just poor decision making, but I start very strong typically. And then throughout the season with my my waiver ads and my waiver picks, that's where it helps boost my team a lot.
Absolutely. I can't wait for it. Like I said before, I may have reached a couple of times, but I like how I finished strong. And I think if I swap out a couple of those auto draft picks, I don't want to say stay away from Sam Bennett, but I think just Paul Maurice has so many options at his disposal that it's just like I alluded to. I need to see what he does with all of these tools, because even a guy like Anton Lundell and Eetu Listerainen, projected as third liners, those guys can slot around anywhere in that lineup. And that's a team that's also dealt with injuries over the last couple of years. So I would also throw that into the mix. Steele, let's say goodbye. Wrap this up. You want me to throw this ending graphic on it, or are you able to do that?
I'll absolutely throw that out. Thank you so much for joining us here on the first Locked On Fantasy Hockey mock draft live of the season. We're going to be doing this every single Monday until the season starts. And honestly, even when we do our actual drafts, I'll throw up the live stream as well. We really do appreciate it. Make sure you tune in Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock in the morning is when you can find our episodes. If you want to participate, hit us up in the DMs on Instagram, on X, and we'll throw you on the list for the draw September 21st. And we'll see you back here next time.
Smash that follow button, baby. We'll see you back next week.